Assemble with Care is a super cute little game about a traveling repair woman named Maria who has been traveling around looking for new places and new things to fix. The game begins with Maria arriving in the sleepy little town of Bellariva, and oh, what fun little adventures will we get into while we're here. Maria has been away from home for an entire year, and the way that she makes her money to do all of this traveling is pretty simple. She can repair just about anything, so that's just what she does. The first task that we take on isn't actually repairing anything at all though. We go ahead and arrive at our hotel where we begin unpacking our suitcase. A pretty straightforward and easy task, but we can see that Maria travels pretty light on her adventures. Our parents ran an antique store, and they wanted us to just stay at home working in the shop all the time, but of course Maria had much bigger dreams than that, hence why we have gone on our big year of travel. We very quickly close out of level 1 as we earn the achievement Welcome to Bellariva. We decide to head out into the town square to start looking for some clients that we can repair things for. On our way, we learn that there is some sort of big festival that's going to be happening in just a few days. I wonder what this game is building towards. We very quickly find our first customer, a little girl named Izzy who wants us to help fix up her old tape deck that she just broke. So that takes us into what the bulk of every level is going to be. After we get through a little bit of story stuff, we will then start working on whatever the client has brought for us to repair. In this case, we are just basically untangling a tape deck and then opening up the cassette player to change the batteries out, and then bada bing bada boom, it will be working once again. Starting out, the repair mechanic stuff in this game was a little bit fidgety. I often found that I was getting stuck rotating stuff, getting stuck with the wrong things in my hand, couldn't figure out how to interact with stuff correctly, but after you go through a couple of these, you kind of get it together. Once we finally repair the cassette player, we hear a music box and a woman's voice singing coming out of it. Izzy informs us that that voice singing was her mother who recently passed away, so this game's definitely going to be a little bit sad, huh? We earn the achievement Goodnight My Darling for completing Chapter 2. After a day spent canvassing the town with our repair flyers, we return back to our hotel and find that we've actually got a message waiting for us that calls us out to a little seaside home. Once we arrive at the home, we learn that the man that called us is actually Izzy's father. Izzy didn't really properly pay us for our services that we rendered, so he was going to settle things up. But while we're waiting for that, we see a broken statue on his mantle that we go to repair. Our last repair was vaguely electronic in nature, and now we're proving that Maria can really do it all as we need to repair a statue. I expected the different repairs to increase in difficulty as we went through this game, but this one is actually a little bit of a step down, I would say, maybe. It's just gluing pieces back together. As Joseph puts the newly repaired statue back down, we see a family portrait with Izzy's recently departed mother, and we also learn that Joseph happens to be the town mayor. That's pretty convenient. And as he is the mayor, he seems to be deeply entrenched in working on this big festival that everybody's talking about. We spend a little bit of time thinking about how our parents must have been feeling when we left home as we earn the achievement Statue of Limitations for completing Chapter 3. The next day, we are enjoying our time walking around the town and exploring some of the many coffee shops when we suddenly get stopped by a woman named Carmen. She owns a cafe nearby, and she says that she has a job for us. Carmen tells us that she wants to call her sister to ask for some recipe tips, and her phone has been on the fritz lately, so we go ahead and start working on getting it repaired so she can make her much needed phone call. Now this is what I'm talking about. This is a step up in difficulty. Once we get the phone repaired, we hand it back to Carmen, and she seems a little bit nervous for somebody that's just making a casual phone call about asking for some ingredient help. We very awkwardly sip on our coffee as Carmen makes the phone call to her sister, but it becomes apparent pretty quickly that she wasn't actually calling for tips, and she needs some money from her sister in order to be able to take part in the festival. The only problem with this is she is super in debt to her sister already, and her sister has decided to come check out what's going on herself. Carmen tells us to come back tomorrow because she'll have another job ready for us as we earn the achievement Call Me for completing Chapter 4. The next morning, we are on our way out the door of the hotel when we learn that another guest has apparently asked for us by name. This is a woman named Helena who wants us to come fix her camera for her. Okay, no big deal, I wasn't gonna go enjoy my day anyway. After a little bit of digging, we learn that this is apparently Carmen's rich sister who has been funding her cafe dreams, and now we get to fix her camera. At least maybe she'll pay a little bit better. This repair is once again another little jump up in difficulty. This time we get to play around with the way that mirrors reflect light. Ooh. Helena's camera is apparently extremely expensive, which kind of gets Maria thinking, why are we staying at the same hotel? We're traveling around with basically nothing, working as we go, but surely she could afford something a little nicer. Helena, honestly, kind of deservedly, complains that the only time she ever hears for Carmen is when she's looking to get some money from her. And she says that if she wants any more, she's gonna have to prove herself. At least she's not completely done with her. We earn the achievement Life Through a Lens for completing Chapter 5. We arrive at Carmen's cafe, and she informs us that if her sister doesn't loan her this money, she doesn't know how long she's going to be able to keep this place going. She also tells us that what we need to assemble today is a neon sign for the restaurant. So just to be clear here, Carmen is running a restaurant that is super struggling, and it doesn't even have a sign out front for people to know what it's called or anything? What are we doing here, people? And why did you let me put an ice cream cone on the logo? I don't think you serve that. Helena arrives on the scene and once again complains, kind of rightfully, that her sister is running the only restaurant in town that doesn't seem to be open. She also says that the first thing they need to do is get rid of the hideous sign out front. Rude. The sisters head inside the restaurant as we earn the achievement Everything is Illuminated. The next day is the day before the big festival that everybody is preparing for, and Joseph gives us another call to come back to the seaside house. When we arrive though, we actually get intercepted by Izzy, who invites us out to her clubhouse for a quick little job. Izzy accidentally threw her not Game Boy at the wall really hard, accidentally by the way, and now she's afraid her dad is going to be mad about it, and she wants us to repair it before he sees. Luckily for us, Nintendo hardware is notoriously easy to edit, and it's just connected by a couple of pink wires anyway. And you know Maria's a real expert. She actually jailbroke her 3DS, so this was no big deal to her at all. Once we get the game device up and running again, we play a little mini game where we need to go walk through a forest where we see a bird, and then we need to time the bird flying by with a photograph. I'd play that game, honestly. Izzy is quite happy that we managed to get her gaming device repaired, but she is a little bit upset about needing to go to the festival tomorrow. Her dad's the mayor, and obviously he needs to be there, and she needs to be as well. She's feeling a little bit neglected because he's been so busy with his work lately. We once again think back to our relationship with our parents, as we seem to do at every chapter's end, and we earn the achievement Game Over. After we've finished our time spent hiding out in the garden, we finally manage to make our way into the house and meet Joseph in his study. He tells us that he's looking forward to the festival, and it's tradition for the mayor to try food from every cafe and restaurant in town. So why did Carmen need money to actually enter into the festival? That's weird. Just for ingredients, I guess? Whatever, you know what, it's not important. The important thing is that Joseph called us here to fix up a watch that his wife gifted him, and he needs to have it up and running for the festival. We give Joseph his watch back, and he says some contemplative stuff about how time is passing so fast, and he doesn't get to spend as much time with Izzy as he would like, and how she seems to resent him. You know, classic old man stuff. We earn the achievement A Fix in Time for completing Chapter 8 as we move on to the festival. We have one more stop to make though before we can go to the festival and have some sweet relaxation time. Helena has gone over to Carmen's apartment and tells us that we are having a clear out sale as we need to make some funds to keep the cafe going. And she wants us to fix up an old family heirloom projector in order to sell it. We start working on the projector, and one thing that we notice pretty quickly, and that the game actually calls out in fact, is that there is a slide from back in the old family days that has become caught in the machinery. I think that this is honestly probably the most difficult puzzle in this game. Like, none of them are really that difficult, but this one, just by matter of fact that the mirrors that you need to reflect the light in this one, I just kept missing that there was one on the side there, so I just couldn't figure out what to do. Eventually, I figured it out though, and we managed to solve this little puzzle conundrum that we had. We finish up the little light puzzle and also unstick the mechanisms in the projector, and we can start flipping through the slides from back in the day when the siblings weren't fighting each other all the time. Good memories. Looking at these slides though, we have the biggest reveal of the game. Helena says that she never wanted to disappoint her sister. We tell her that she hasn't. She's helped out so much with all of the money to keep the cafe running and everything. And then Helena reveals to us that she lost her job a couple months ago and there is no money left anymore. Helena came here wanting to tell her sister the truth, but unfortunately her sister is just so focused on the cafe and her own well-being that she hasn't really taken into consideration Helena's feelings. We'll let the sisters have that conversation on their own off-screen as we finish up Chapter 9 here and earn the achievement Slide Away. So now it is time to begin Chapter 10, Boiling Point, and we finally get a chance to relax and just enjoy the festival. We walk through the stalls and we see that all of the other cafe and restaurant owners have everything together ready to go until we get to Carmen's stand. Apparently Helena was supposed to show up and help run the stall, but she never actually showed up to help her sister for some reason. And, you know, the mayor is about to be here and do the judging, so Carmen needs a little bit more help. So on our one day off, Carmen decides to ask us to help set up the spare stove and prepare an extra batch of the special. So now we once again step into the preparation booth as we start helping Carmen out, and our first step here is to assemble the actual heating device. This makes sense, you know, we're pretty mechanical, it's easy enough for us to go ahead and step in and fix up the heater. However, my problem with this game arises at the next step, where Carmen gives us some rough directions on how to prepare the soup, and then we go ahead and put it together. This is a cooking competition where the owner of the failing cafe in town isn't actually doing her own cooking. And presumably she was almost out of soup and this is a fresh batch, so this is the one that the mayor is actually gonna get. So what really went on here? So with that, Joseph and Izzy come around and try the soup that we just cooked for Carmen. By the way, they are judging Carmen's soup that we prepared. You know, I'm not upset about it, but it'd just be nice to get a little bit of the credit for the work that we just did. It's also weird that the mayor of this small town would be raiding every restaurant in town. Seems like this would kind of make people a little bit frustrated that lived here, you know? Joseph and Izzy are getting along though, so that's good. We earn the achievement Hello Master Chef for finishing up Chapter 10, and yeah, you better be talking to me because I did the cooking. I'm the Master Chef. It's the day after the festival now, and we only have one day left in the town before we're gonna go ahead and pack it up and ship out. We go to visit Carmen to say goodbye, and we see that she won the award for best food in the town, and so many people are here to check it out. They're gonna be leaving disappointed tonight though when they see that the food that won the award wasn't actually being served because we weren't there. At least we see that these siblings are once again working together and seem to be getting along a little bit better than they were last time we saw them. Carmen leads us upstairs and asks us to fix an old record player, but before we do that, she informs us that Helena was actually out yesterday selling her camera to pay to help relieve the cafe's debts. That's a very nice thing for her to do, a noble sacrifice, but why did she have to do it on the day of the festival and not, like, any other day that wasn't super important? We go through the process of fixing up the old record player. This is honestly maybe one of my favorite repairs in the game. It's pretty cool. There's a lot of different things going on and you need to reroute some cables, change some engine parts, get the disc spinning the correct way. It's pretty cool stuff. Once we have the record player restored, the siblings sit and listen and have a great time just like they used to when they were kids. Turns out that they're gonna start working together full time now, and Helena tells us that it was worth selling her camera so that her sister can be the person that she really wants to be. Now, maybe I'm being too harsh, but it really feels like she was already being the person she wanted to be and kinda failing at running the restaurant, but you know, whatever. Pretty quick change off is what I'm saying. We earn the achievement Turning the Tables for completing Chapter 11 as Maria makes the revelation that she actually hasn't talked to her parents in over a year since she left in the first place because it was just too hard to pick up the phone and tell them. So on our final day in Bellariva, we get one more call out to Izzy and Joseph's house where we see them hanging out in the back garden playing. It's a good sight. The two of them just had so much fun spending the entire day together at the festival, having a great time trying all of that food. It feels like they have really bonded in a way that they haven't previously since the mother passed away, and Joseph wants to give her something to commemorate that with. This repair is probably the most intricate of the entire game. It is a music box where we need to open it up and rework some gears, replace some stuff, as well as replacing the family photo to kind of update it. Still including the mom though, of course. I don't want to make it sound like we just drew some X's over her eyes, you know? I also realized from my editing of this game, I didn't catch it during the live play, but the first scene that we had in this game where we fixed the cassette tape, the music box that we heard in the background was actually this music box, so that's a nice touch. We get one final revelation from Joseph, who says that he just wants to make his daughter proud, and he wants to be the father that his wife would have wanted him to be. He spent so much time focusing on his work that he's kind of been neglecting her, and he's not going to stand for that anymore. Izzy overhears this and is pretty sufficiently overjoyed, so it seems like things have been fixed in this household, but maybe we can do the same thing to our own household yet. And that is just what Maria is thinking about as we earn the achievement Thanks for the Music as we head into the final chapter of the main game. We are about to wrap things up, folks. As we head into the final chapter of the main game, we once again get a pretty shocking revelation from Maria, who just casually mentions that the suitcase she's been carrying around for the last year was actually stolen from her parents' shop as she ran away from home. I guess it's not running away, she was an adult, but still, awkward. Just like at the start of this game, we go ahead and repack our suitcase, though this time it has a couple more items in it, things that we've picked up from the people that we've met in the town. Kind of a shockingly low number of people to meet in this town, honestly, though it's a short game, so what can you say? We finish packing our suitcase and close it up as we head to the train station to leave Bellariva for good. The stop in Bellariva was a really good thing for Maria though, as she's finally decided to try to see things from her parents' perspective, and though she could keep running away, she's finally decided that she's ready to confront things head on. The game ends with us pressing a single button labeled dial, where we call our parents, and they seem pretty shocked to hear us pick up. And that's actually where things end. We earn the achievement only a phone call away for finishing up chapter 13, and we don't see any more between Maria and her parents. Interesting way to end the game, leaves you thinking. And though that wraps up Maria's story, there is actually one more chapter to play. There is an epilogue to this game in the form of a letter from Carmen. Starts with her informing us that the cafe has been super busy since we left, and Carmen and Helena have continued to work together. The only problem is that Helena is used to the finer things in life, such as shapes being drawn on coffee. So the quote-unquote award-winning chef that Carmen is, she can surely figure out how to make an espresso. So now we get to see from her perspective building an espresso machine. This is probably the most complicated repair in the game, honestly. Trying to assemble this machine with all of the different pipes and things going on, the wiring. It's funny that it's actually the most complicated thing, way more complicated than anything we worked on as Maria. Probably more dangerous too. I think this epilogue is a little weird though. I kind of expected to do like a letter from Carmen, a letter from Joseph, and then maybe get a little bit about Maria and her time back at her parents' shop, but we don't actually get any of that. We just get this one little sequence about building this machine with Carmen. I'm not complaining about it, it's just interesting. It's not what I was expecting. Once we successfully assemble the machine, we get to write a little message in the coffee to try things out. I tried to write subscribe, but I pretty quickly gave up because this thing is harder to operate than it looks. Carmen serves the coffee up to Helena, who actually seems pretty impressed about it. So Carmen can go ahead and keep improving, and it seems like the sisters are getting along much better than they have ever before. And that is the end of the letter from Carmen, and also the end of this game as we earn the achievement coffee break for completing the epilogue. And now we have officially done everything in Assemble with Care. So how did we do? Assemble with Care was a pretty short game at just over an hour and a half playtime for me to complete it from beginning to end. This is one of those games that's short enough that I just played it all the way through in one session, and I had a pretty good time going through it. Overall, I think the art style of this game was super cool, the writing was good overall, though I have some complaints with it as I voiced in the middle there, especially I guess just Carmen as a character I wasn't a super big fan of, but you know, you can't like everybody, right? This is a great example of a game that has pretty simple gameplay, but still kind of conveys the message in an effective way. I had a good time putting all of the different things together, and we definitely got more complicated as we went through the game, and new mechanics were introduced as we played through as well. It does seem like a couple of days is a little short for us to be able to fix all of the problems with these people getting along and everything, but it's a game, it is what it is. And conveniently this game happens to be coming out, should be the day before American Thanksgiving, and it's about family and stuff, so hopefully that message is a good one, ? To all the American viewers, I hope you have a great Thanksgiving, and to everybody else, I hope you have a great Thursday as well. Thanks so much for watching. As always, if you want to leave a comment, please feel free to do so down below, or if you want to suggest any games that you'd like to see me play in the future. Thanks so much for watching. See you next week. See you!